I've never done like one of these before. So I might not be used to it, and yeah, it's not really something I've done before, so sorry if I sound a little awkward, a little tired. I like just woke up about an hour ago, so that probably explains why. Um, I jokingly said yesterday that if I got Vaporwave versus Frutiger Aero to 500 views and 35 likes, I would do a director's commentary and like a lyric breakdown video. And that happened, so I guess I have to do it now. Alright. So first, I do want to talk about the matchup. I didn't come up with this matchup. I know that the girl who made joke battles for over a year is unoriginal when it comes to serious matchups. But anyways, this was a matchup created by Timey. I think it was about a year ago she came up with it. It was in the ERB community Discord server, and I saw like the thumbnail and cover art and thought, I'd like to do that. However, I didn't figure out that was a matchup until like about a week and a half before Rap Battle Day, so I basically had to get this done by Rap Battle Day, so I did this entire battle in about a week, so there's a reason why it's a little rushed. Yeah, so, and thank you, Timey, for well, not only just coming up with the matchup, but also making like the thumbnail, the cover art, and also adding some additional lines. So yeah, you like helped a lot. I also want to talk about the beat choice. I just searched up chill 90s style beat, and this was one of the first results on YouTube. Usually I don't know why, but I'm usually uncomfortable trying to find new beats for myself because it's like I feel like I can't trust my own judgment. So this was like the first time where I chose a beat online that hasn't been used yet as far as my knowledge, and I was actually confident in using it. So yeah, and I think it did work out well. It definitely fit the vibe of the battle really well. I also want to talk about the visual effects. The VHS style for Vaporwaves and the kind of digital-esque looking style for Frutiger Aero. That was done entirely by Defta Fails at Existence because he wanted to contribute some part to this battle because he really liked the matchup. So he wanted to add like a VHS kind of filter to Vaporwave side, and wanted to add like a digital kind of like early digital internet style look to Frutiger Aero's verses. And this logo. So I know I'm pausing a lot, but I think there's surprisingly a lot more to talk about in this battle than I initially thought of. So of course the logo is based off of the Windows color scheme. The orange, the green, the yellow, and the like light blue. However, unfortunately, with the VHS effect, it contrasted the orange to look more like red. So I'm sorry for that. Don't blame me. Blame Defta. I'm kidding. Obviously, don't. Let's not play the blame game. So yeah, and of course we have we have Frutiger Aero. I just found for both characters, I literally just found PNGs online, so that's basically just what I did, is just found PNGs online. And also, this was my first time editing a full battle in a light motion. So that's why it kind of looks a little stiff at times. Because I was not used to this new software. I have done a couple test edits in a light, but it wasn't anything like a full on over 2.5 minute battle, which is what this is. Alrighty, enough of me rambling on before I even get to the lines. Let's actually get to the lines. Before I even talk about the lyrics, I want to talk about this performance as Vaporwave. So initially the mixer of this battle, known as Box, they were going to do the Vaporwave vocals. However, they had to drop out, but luckily they were still able to mix this battle, and I think it worked out really well. So I had to basically just do both performances of Vaporwave and Frutiger Aero. However, with the way Box mixed both vocals, I think it worked. Especially because Box added that robotic style scratchy voice for Frutiger Aero, which I think helped distinct between Vaporwave and Frutiger Aero. And speaking of the Frutiger Aero performance, that idea of the robotic style scratchy sound came from a video where it's like, holy crap, it's Frutiger Aero, and it's basically this like this big yellow like chunky dude going up to Frutiger Aero. And if you hear like some of the sounds Frutiger Aero made, that's kind of what I based the my performance of Frutiger Aero on. So yeah. And also with the line, doesn't matter if you're blue, green, or orange, you'll still be losing. That's basically just a reference on how the Frutiger Aero symbol, that little cute little jelly avatar, can either be blue, green, or orange. And he's basically saying, it doesn't matter what form you take, you're nothing against me. Speaking of that video, that line came exactly from the video. That the yellowish orange blob thing came from that exact video, and in that video he says, "Do you know Purple Place?" Like he's acting like an obsessive fan, basically. Yeah. Okay, so that basically is a reference to so one of the main bases of Frutiger Aero is the font known as Humanist. So I thought like making Frutiger Aero like the way Vaporwave said it, it's like, hey, stop being animalistic, be like your font, because your font name is Humanist. So try and be humane. And that's basically what it was referencing. It's just the Humanist font. Okay, so basically the original creator of the font, the style of Frutiger Aero. Hold on, let me look up his name. Let me look up his name. He's a Swiss guy, Adrian Frutiger. He was a Swiss designer, and in 2013, I think, is when he passed away. And around that time, that's when the Frutiger Aero style, like it was being used unironically, started to kind of fall off. So I basically just said, hey, after your creator died, your style just kind of went into the shitter. But now it's kind of making a nostalgic comeback, which is why I used it in a rap battle. Replaced by something they literally call corporate. Okay, so that is a reference to the art style known as, what was it? Corporate art style. What was it called? Corporate Memphis. That's what it was called. It was a reference to how after the early 2010s, basically Frutiger Aero kind of fell off design-wise, besides nostalgic 20-somethings. And basically, and it was replaced by a style known as corporate Memphis, which was really clowned on in the mid to late 2010s. So, yeah, it was basically saying you got replaced by something they literally call corporate. I literally just repeated the line. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so the aesthetics clean, I should be the one that they call gloss. That is a reference to the fact that Frutiger Aero is the one known as the clean art style, where it's like very smooth, very like articulate. I don't really have. I'm not a vocabulary person, but basically, in an alternate title of Frutiger Aero is Web 2.0 Gloss. So I decided to reference that. That's basically just, saying like your style is basically just for nostalgic adults, where it's like he's even trying to say like your style's not good, it's corrupted, which looking back at it was probably a bit of a filler line. Okay, this line. Obviously this is a reference to the Welcome to Microsoft Windows sort of intro that happens every time you boot up an old Windows computer. However, what I did not realize is the fact that the specific one I was referencing was from the Windows 95 intro with the Welcome to Microsoft Windows. So that is a failure on my part. So I am so sorry for failing, y'all. What am I on about? Okay, so this is basically saying like water vapor. It's basically saying like your flow is so bad that it might as well just be invisible, because vaporwave, water vapor. It's so bad that it should be invisible. It's layered. I say it's layered even though it's not really that deep. Okay, that is somewhat true, kinda. A lot of people, especially like younger people, discovering Frutiger Aero, it kind of inspired them to get into like editing styles and like editing kind of like in the Frutiger Aero like early internet digital style. However, Vaporwave did the same thing when it was very popular, so again, that's a fault on my part. Okay, so that's basically just a reference to how Vaporwave is supposed to be the aesthetic of the late 80s, early 90s, sort of that cheesy aesthetic. However, it does go very over the top with its style to the point where it barely represents what it's supposed to be representing. So I think that is a good line, especially with the previous three lines, which is just eh. Okay, so Leafy is here. This was a line written by NPR in the ERB community Discord server, because he added his own lines, and I thought those were really good, and they should have been in the battle. This was one of them. But even though I didn't write the line, I still think I can explain it. Basically, it's just saying, there goes my brain. It's basically saying, like, during the time when Leafy's Here ruled the fucking world, like, on YouTube, he always used that vaporwave sort of aesthetic, kind of like synthwave almost sort of thing. So basically NPR was referencing, hey, I remind those of when the internet was actually fun, and you remind us of the time of those stupid ass commentary videos like Leafy is Here. So that's basically what it's saying. So I'm authentic, energetic, reflective, and open. That's actually the acronym for Aero, at least in the context of Frutiger Aero. It's literally Frutiger, authentic, energetic, reflective, and open. I wanted to reference that, so yeah, I basically added that because reasons, but it doesn't really have a follow-up, so this was, again, kind of a case of filler. Okay, basically it's just saying, like, you know, hey, ripped jeans, because those were really popular in the early 2000s when Frutiger Aero was starting to become the art style of that era. I need water. But yeah, it's basically the art style of that era. So basically it's saying, hey, you should call yourself the style of my era, like ripped jeans, because your style is broken, which honestly kind of sounds like a backwards insult towards Frutiger Aero himself. So again, I'm noticing a lot more flaws with Frutiger, and I'm starting to see why some people have voted for Vaporwave. Okay, that's basically a reference to the fact, in a lot of Vaporwave music videos and, like, backgrounds, you will see some representation of Arizona iced tea. And so representing Arizona iced tea, well, you aren't even Brisk. I capitalized Brisk because Brisk iced tea is also another tea brand, and Brisk can also mean, like, you're not good. So he's basically saying, I'm representing something good while you're representing not something good, which is ironic because I much prefer Brisk iced tea than Arizona iced tea. So it's definitely a case of separating the art from the artist. So yeah. That's basically kind of a repeat of you don't even look like the timeline you're supposed to be representing, where it's basically Frutiger Aero saying, like, hey, I actually represent the era I'm supposed to be representing while you are trying to fail to be retro. So yeah. Okay, so that's basically a reference to the fact that Metro is also another term for Frutiger Aero, and basically it's known for its more cleaner, more symmetrical, smoother art style, while Vaporwave has like a lot of clutter in its art style, because it's maximalism at its best, but at its finest, as I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's basically just saying, without clouding your styles, you wouldn't be able to survive being in my style. My music influenced pop culture. That's technically true. The Vaporwave music definitely shifted a lot of people towards the Vaporwave aesthetic. So yeah. That's a reference to the, fishes sometimes found in the Vaporwave art style. That's why I use the fishes. Timey wrote that line. Okay, so I think this is actually one of the best lines of the battle, because a lot of people confuse Vaporwave with Synthwave. However, as somebody pointed out in the FRB Discord server, it turns out I did not realize this until Rap Battle Day, when, the battle has already been released, that I actually used a Synthwave background for Vaporwave, even though when I looked up Vaporwave backgrounds, that was like one of the first results, because I did not want to use a still image, because that would get very boring very fast. So I just used the first animated one that I could find where you didn't have to pay or didn't have a watermark. So yeah, I confused it with Synthwave. Ironically, I confused Vaporwave with Synthwave, so that is a deep case of irony. Obviously, that's a reference to the skeuomorphic boardwalk. I didn't write that line, NPR did, so Originally the line was, "You got replaced by corporate Memphis, and that shit ain't worth the poor talk." However, since I already mentioned corporate Memphis, I had to change up the lyric a little. It's weird how I did not write this line. NPR did. It's weird that I didn't change anything about this line, even though it's basically kind of repeating itself. Man, Vaporwave is really falling off the second verse, huh? Ironically, um, Frutiger Aero has the faster rap. Okay. And then the line kind of got ruined by that. It's basically saying like, hey, Y2K was really bad, even though Vaporwave and Frutiger Aero, in between that was the Y2K era. So it's basically, it is technically dissing Frutiger Aero, but it's also dissing Vaporwave. That's obviously just a pun, saying like when like Windows XP and Vista shut down, so, and that's like the main era of Frutiger Aero. So it's like, I'll leave your Windows shut like Windows XP and Vista. Okay, so I think that one needs like the most explanation. So a lot of people got a little weirded out at the out of nowhere Walmart versus Target reference. But here's the thing. The last year of Vaporwave versus... not Vaporwave. The last year of Frutiger Aero was in around late 2013, early 2014. So I thought making an ERBP reference when that was like the fan-made rap battle channel at the time, I thought that would be kind of cool. And, you know, with Retro Star, it had a line about retro, so I thought Walmart versus Target would have been perfect, especially since Walmart versus Target is probably one of the most nostalgic ERBPs as far as I know. It's definitely the one I have a lot of nostalgia for. That's a reference to just how Vaporwave uses a lot of glitches for its style. Okay, that probably might be that's my favorite line of the battle. So if you don't know, yes, with certain parts of Vaporwave, and especially with their songs, a lot of the songs can be about drug use, mainly drugs such as painkillers, basically being addicted to drugs. And basically it's saying, makes sense drugs represent you, because you had to be high to like come up here, try to rap me out, which ironically I sounded high as fuck when recording Vaporwave, because I sounded like out of it. Okay, that's just a reference to liminal spaces, especially since especially in like early 2000s liminal spaces are the ones that are like really trending right now. 80s and 90s liminal spaces, of course, have their fans, but most people focus on early 2000s liminal spaces, and basically a lot of people say like liminal spaces are beautiful, and so it's like my rhymes are absolutely epic like liminal spaces, because liminal spaces are epic. And no, that was not an ERB reference. Your underground consumerism part of yours? Okay. That line was really good, but it kind of got ruined by the visual, because for some reason I added a Wii and a Skype icon, despite those representing the Frutiger Aero era. People, this is why you need to storyboard your battles. So that was kind of a reference to a tweet a little while back. Basically, it was a debate on what is the most Frutiger Aero era game, and a really popular answer was Super Mario Sunshine for some reason. So I decided to reference that tweet. It might have been a little bit of a low bar, but again, I had like a week and a half to make this battle. Obviously, I think that's a good line because it's saying like you're not relevant anymore. And that's kind of true because more people are focusing on Frutiger Aero nowadays than Vaporwave, since that is the nostalgia thing right now. And it's also a reference to the classic YouTube video, There's Nobody Here, which if you haven't watched it, it is a surreal trip, but I think you should check it out, especially since like it is representing the Frutiger Aero era, which is ironic because the style of There's Nobody Here looks something straight out of an 80s VHS tape, but now it's representing Big Aero, Frutiger Aero, which makes sense because early YouTube was also a big representation of Frutiger Aero. So I think it's a good finisher, a good reference, and overall, that is Vaporwave versus Frutiger Aero. I hope some of my commentary did clear up some confusion about certain choices I made, like lyrics-wise for the battle. I hope you did enjoy this video. And if you think I should make more videos like this in the future, please let me know in the comments. I am Toasty is Irish, signing off.